everybody, and welcome to our main session. Our topic this evening is directing, guiding the story. And we have tonight with us, I'm going to start with Anita because she's our lovely lady on our panel here. Anita comes to us with most of her credits are as an actress. She has more than 100 different commercials under her belt and 65 films. She's the director of her doc. She is also a director of her own doc on human trafficking in the Midwest. What's the title of it?
I Will Rise. I Will Rise.
Cool. Thank you. And Andrew Pritzker is a Nicole Fellowship finalist for his for your Western feature, Sweet in the Saddle. For 17 years, he worked in LA as a screenwriter and a script doctor. He has been awarded Best Director for his shorts, EPG and Devil's Cake. And his new sci-fi, Home Planet, I'm getting them all mixed up together. Let me just sort of bring all of your projects together. Home Planet is scheduled to be released this November. Then we come to, can I call you Tony?
Yeah.
Okay. Tony. Tony is a 4-time Emmy winner. He has films, commercials, and podcasts. His work is driven by the story and a desire to expose the human condition. Thank you to our panelists. So I'm going to talk to each of you about your process, and I'll start with you, Tony, because you're right here next to me. So talking about your directing process, what do you go through when you're given a project or it's your own project? What is then your process?
Well, it does depend on whether or not I've written the project or whether or not I'm taking on a script someone else has written. And then also it will depend on whether or not it's documentary or something narrative, because I do both. But I would say for the sake of argument here, let's talk about the narrative process.
Sure.
First of all, I do a lot of scene work, the way that an actor would do scene work. As a director, I sort of try to go through and break down every single scene in terms of the emotions that I need to get out of it. What is this? Where is the story starting? Where is it ending with the end of each scene? And then, for me, a big part of the process is just working with actors, and I will spend as much time as they will allow me to spend with them, discussing the scene work that they're doing and comparing notes and trying to figure out, where, if their process is taking them in a place that is compatible with kind of where I see the story going and where I see the characters going. And it always, nets a nice result, because what ends up happening for me is that actors will have choices that they've made or have decisions that that they're working on in terms of character that might be something that didn't occur to me, that then will go into sort of my own sort of story that I'm sort of crafting out of the script. And then, so I like to rehearse a lot. I like to, in terms of that. And then when we get on set, then I like to, doing all that work beforehand allows us to play more on set and not necessarily have to be doing the work and like finding things on set. So I'm leaving out quite a bit of things about art department and camera and dealing with shot lists and storyboards. I storyboard. I don't draw, but I will either work with storyboard artists or do things on with photographs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty meticulous about the way that I want to cover scenes. And I shoot, because I'm a documentarian, I shoot a ton of coverage. Like, I want to shoot a lot of coverage because I want the ability to be able to sort of make decisions in the edit suite and not shoot myself into a corner. So
are you starting with the actors? Or are you starting with the other departments and then going with the actors?
No, I think
What's
my
your- what's
first,
your
my
first step
first,
there?
my first person, I will probably either have a producer lined up that will sort of be side saddle, you know, and then cinematographer. Sidecar. And then the cinematographer is the other person that will immediately be on the team. So like once I have kind of a DP in mind and I have a producer in mind and on board and I have those positions on board, that's to me when a lot of discussions will happen where we'll, you know, I'll sit with the DP and break down the script and you know, and ask them like, what do you see? Like what shot, is there some shot that anchors this scene for you? Is there anything interesting or different that you want to do that's not just a standard coverage? Is there any sort of, you know, special thing that you need, a special tool that you need? Do we want to do this as a one, or do we want to do this purely on dolly? Do we want to do this handheld? You know, and discussing, you know, those things, because I will already come to that meeting with ideas of the film starts out, everything's on sticks, everything's super steady, and then as the character becomes more unhinged, then we become more and more handheld, sort of as the, you know, I'll be making decisions like that and working through that stuff with the DP. But yeah, and then I think in terms of, you know, I will have made casting choices. Like I'll have ideas in my head of who I want to cast in roles.
So you start with your cinematographer and your producer, and then you bring the cast on board, and then after you have those three departments, I'm going to put actors in a department, lined up, then do you start putting in other departments after that?
Yeah, at that point, then I just start calling in favors.
It's fair.
I mean, that really is it.
Yeah.
So at that point, then it really is like, well, what else do I need in order to make this engine run? So I need, you know, I need an audio person for sure. I need an AD for sure. I don't do anything without ADs, and then depending on what it is, I may or may not need an art director, but I know that I'm going to need vanities. And so again, it's just me calling my very, very talented, very gracious friends and saying, will you work for almost nothing for a couple of days? We're going to make one for us, you know.
Yeah.
And then PA, you know, then it comes all the way down to PAs and you know, and who I think are incredibly important and sort of the lifeblood of a set. So yeah, I mean, everything else gets crewed out from there. But while all that stuff is being crewed out, I might have really specific ideas of like, hey, I worked with this student who's really amazing, and I want them to be on set. Or I met this young person who I think would be incredible and would want to be on set, and I would like for them to get reps, you know. And while all of that's happening, the offers can be going out without, you know, not from my pen necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But while all of that is happening, then I'm continuing the creative work with the cinematographer. And, you know, oftentimes I have a writing partner, Trey Hawk, who I work with quite a bit. And Trey will AD things for me as well. And Trey is kind of, pardon the blue nature of my vernacular here, but he's kind of one of my bullshit meters, where if I go, I think this, and he'll just go, yeah, I don't think you want to do that. And I'm like, why? That sounds like a great idea. And he's like, this is because you're going to do this later, and you know. So Trey really does keep me honest a lot, and I think that's kind of the job, I think, a little bit of an AD is you're going into scheduling and you're going into sort of like shot listing and stuff. You know, and sometimes he doesn't just, he might think it's an okay idea too, but he just pushes me really hard to have to explain it. Like why is this a good, why would you want to spend that much time doing that thing? And if I can justify it, and if I can say emphatically, because it's going to pay off dividends here and here and here creatively, then he's like, I love it, it's great, let's move on. But I had to fight for it a little bit, and you know, the more you work with people, the longer you work with people, I think the more that those relationships develop, where people get to push you, and they get to sort of, they know where where your lines are, and like how to get you to the point where you're making good decisions. So I just try to surround myself with
That's a
people
great
who,
relationship to be able to have. Yeah. Anita, I think the one that you're talking about here in your bio is a documentary, And that may be a different process, although he's done documentaries. In this case, he was talking about narratives. So how would you explain or describe your process?
So the project that she's talking about is a project that I directed and produced. It's called I Will Rise, and I had a story of a trafficked victim who actually walked our streets for 17 years, down the street off Paseo and Independence. She became somebody who was a confidant of mine, and I wanted to share her story. And so my first part of my process was obviously getting the story and making sure that I felt and believed in that story, and that I felt like I could tell her story with wisdom and with grace and with truth. And the next part of my process was finding a team of people that also I could, have them believe in the story equally, if not more than me, because, sometimes I can cast a vision, and if somebody doesn't catch it, then it's not going to come to fruition, right? So the people that are surrounding us are so vital, in my opinion. So I went to a cinematographer, Isaac Alangi. Some of you might know him. And he sat down with me and said, Anita, I 100% believe in this, and I believe in you, and so therefore I'm on your side. And so with that, then the momentum starts, and you just, you get the cast in, you get the interviews started and what have you. I feel like also too, you've got to have a great editor, and I 1,000% believed in my editor and brought her into the process of helping me tell the story. It wasn't just my vision, it's the team's vision. And if we as a director can get that in our mind, that we are a team, it is our film, right? It's not just my film, it's our film. It's us, we. And so we did all the interviewing and got her all the footage and sat down with her, and she started telling us what her thoughts were about the arc and where to implement things. And it all was a collaborative effort. Did we agree on everything? No, but we agreed on a whole lot, because like what Tony was saying, you do that pre-production stuff first, and you get the story out there, and that's where the whole thing came into fruition. So that was my process. I did have an outline. I had an outline of all the questions that I interviewed, I think 6 people, and I was actually in it as well. And we talked about the process of that subject, what trafficking is, how does pornography play into it, how does our streets play into it, what is going on in Kansas City, what's going on outside of Kansas City, and bursting people's bubbles that nothing happens here. And that was the truth that I wanted to portray, to show people how we as a community can make a difference. And so I feel like I did that. I feel like I was able to convey that and get the ball rolling, and it's a beautiful film. And it's brought light to her story, and it's brought light to what's happening in the Midwest, and I couldn't be more proud.
Congratulations. Andrew, I'm going to go to you next to talk to you about your process.
Is this working? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Well, my process is very simple. First, I open a bottle of scotch. No. I am a screenwriter, so I pretty much write all of my own scripts. And so I come to the directing process from story. The first thing that I think I need to know, even if I am the screenwriter, and I'll read the script again, is what is the story about? Whose story is it? What am I trying to say? That is the guiding light of maybe the entire directorial process.
Andrew, can you put the microphone?
Oh, okay. First of all, and some of the screenwriters here will know, but I'll repeat it. A story has to be broken down for you really to understand it. A story has a couple of components, and the plot is not particularly the most important element. What's important is the theme of the story. And generally the theme of the story can be broken down into one word. It's love, it's hate, it's revenge, it's guilt, whatever the story is. And then there's something called a through line, which is sort of like the moral of the story. And it's love is blind, or revenge is a dish best served cold. And that kind of guides where the scenes are going and maybe where the film is going. When I look at the scenes, I want to know whose scene is it, and whose story am I telling in that scene. Oftentimes, and I'll get to some of the other process parts, but sometimes you're on the set, and I know I mentioned this in our pre-show conference. Sometimes you're on the set, and you have a scene, and you have a shot list, and you have no time. For whatever reason, the person who owns the location says, all right, you've got 10 minutes, and I've got 2 pages to shoot. Well, some of those shots are luxury, and I'll cross those off. But I know what I need to convey with either a story beat or a character beat. And as long as I have that, I really have what I need, and I can move on. So here's the process. Once I have the screenplay, I will send it out to my editor, and I'll get his reaction. And if he isn't, grumpy about it, then I think I'm on the right track. Then I'll go out to a DP and see if we have a meeting of the minds. Also, trying to put some crew together before I even go out to casting, to know that I have a crew I can count on before we launch into the next phase. And when we get to casting, and Anita has more experience with casting and acting than I do, but when we get into acting, I don't rush the process. Sometimes I have somebody in mind, but I don't like to rush the process. I will see everybody, and I really want to get the best match. And by that, I mean somebody who gets the material. And when I'm looking for an actor, I want to see something I didn't expect. I want to see the scene come alive a little bit. And I'm very happy if the actor takes it in a slightly different direction. When I work with people, and I like to collaborate, and it is a collaborative art form, if people have ideas, and they have a notion, or they have a hunch, and they tell it to me, I will immediately go on the internet and spill the tea. But no, if it's a good idea, let's use it, because the star of the film is the film itself. It's what the end process is going to be, and it's what the audience reaction is going to be. So that's another thing I like to keep in mind is, how do I connect with an audience? How does the material connect? And where do I want to take that audience on that experience? Because unlike theater, when you are directing, you are thinking in images and in symbols and also emotion, and you can put the audience's face anywhere you want it. You can take their eyes, show them the information you want to show them, subtract what you don't want to show them, and you can effectively take something which is very bland, like 4 people up on a stage, and like Hitchcock would often say, if the audience knew there was a bomb under my chair, this conversation would be a lot more interesting. Once I have the crew and I have the cast, location is vital, because if I go back to my theme, if I go back to my through line, if I know what the arena is for the story, I can find locations that will enhance that. And I try to look at everything on the set, props, wardrobe, and see how that can be tied into the storytelling process, because subtext is, it's really pushing the film. It's what's really engaging the audience. It requires that you look, and it keeps your eyes on the screen, because you're getting something communicated that is not coming through with the dialogue. So, art direction, I tend to do that, but I kind of bring people in. Editing, I have an editor. Sound is huge. Audio is vital. You want the best audio that you could get, because while people will watch a film that is not the greatest in terms of image quality, they can see beyond that, but if people hear something that doesn't quite sound right, it takes the audience out of it. And it's a lot of effort to go back and have voices in ADR, have voices from the actors recorded to match the lips that are on the screen and get that performance back. So I don't want to solve a lot of problems in post-production. So pre-production, I put a lot of work into, just so we can have a creative post-production process. And
Great, thank you. So I asked each of these fine directors to send in a clip, and I'd like to start with Tony's clip, and maybe you can set it up for us, and then we'll talk about it more afterwards.
Sure. Can everybody hear me if I don't use the microphone?
Yeah, we need to.
Oh, they're recording. Okay, then I'll go ahead and use the microphone.
Thank you. The reason
I've
is
been
that
practicing projecting, and I just thought maybe I could get away with it. It's a clip from a film that I made called Corvallo. It's spooky season, so I thought it'd be a good fit. And this is, I would say, the second act of the film. It's a short, so. I'm not sure what else set up in here.
That's fine. Thank you.
So it is like a beacon for me, and all that we can see, the light that we can believe. So you see, a love that's lost too deep. The dawn shines down on the sea. A ghost is all that we need. And I'm not saying it's all over, and I'm not saying that our time is up. And even though nobody's been before, it's all we live for. I'm not saying it's all over, and I'm not saying that our time is up. And even if nobody's been before, it's all we live for. When you're lost, baby, babe, when there's nothing left to believe, when you're fading, you're all that I need.
So, how are the talks with the new show going?
Carrie, there's no money in a show starring a former Creature Feature host.
But Richard, what am I following on YouTube?
Following? Well, I guess there's some mild interest. I could get you a commercial for breakfast cereal. Carrie, we're talking about a show.
I know an old antiquated throwback like me mustn't have been easy to represent all these years.
Now, it's been fine. Really fun. I've enjoyed myself.
And now, about this photograph. Where in the world did you find it? And who could this possibly be? Why, the resemblance is uncanny.
I've been doing a little research. Trying to find clippings, past reviews, promote the show. When I found this, I've been staring at these eyes for 5 days. Your eyes. I know it's you. I just don't know how.
Richard, my darling.
How?
How could I possibly explain it to you in a way that you would understand?
Are you a vampire?
Would it make this any easier if I said yes? You really should have been working on my show instead of wasting time on your research.
I'm not going to tell anyone.
Of course you won't.
I helped erect the necklace of Malta. I saw Abu's symbol carved. I witnessed numerous lost in the plague. I survived by leaving no loose ends. I'm sorry, my dear Richard. For you see, it's going to be most unpleasant, for I just can't stomach blood that isn't laced with fear.
Happy Halloween. So, how do we talk about how you shape the story?
Well, okay, so because I do documentaries as well, one of my old partners that I work with is a guy named Joe Hyan, and Joe taught me one of my favorite lessons of anything that I've ever learned in film, in life, if I'm being totally honest, which is that you hire people that are good at what they do, and then you get out of their way and you let them do what they're good at. And so in the case of Tom Sutton, who plays the agent, Tom's just an incredible actor, and it took very little work to get him to where he needed to be with this. Like, we talked about the character, we talked about kind of what was going on, and he was good to go. You just kind of wind him up and let him loose. Michael is a different case. He is extraordinarily talented individual and somebody that I'm, grateful to know. And that character was really difficult because Corvallo, there were 4 different characters in the span of like an 8-minute film. There's this, the opening of the film shows this aging star who is signing autographs in this bookstore and being very demure and sort of charming and, winking at this, like making a joke about this child and then kind of like winking at the mother. And it's just very engaging and very, very wholesome, sort of character. And then when Richard shows up, he maybe demure was the wrong word before, because then he really demures around Richard, and he has this character of like, oh, can't have been easy to have dealt with, someone like me all of these years, and it's this really like this deference and this kind of wilting flower of a character, and then we had to really understand that, like, when I was working with Michael, Michael comes from a bigger background. He comes from theater, and he comes from, I had to chisel him down, and I had to really explain that, like, I want you to start with nothing. I want you to do nothing. I want you to just, soak up the lines and know the lines, and I want you to, like, breathe them in, and I just want you to just exhale and have the lines come out. I don't want you to act. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to just be. And so, there was a little work involved for that, which is okay, because, Michael's an incredible performer, but he does a very specific thing, and I was asking him to do something that he doesn't normally do. And so that was very interesting for me anyway, was that really, because for me, again, it's like, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm directing a film and he's the actor. It was like a relationship. I'm building a relationship with this human being who is a very real person who has, emotions and an ego. And I don't mean like an ego, like he's got a big ego. I just mean we all have ego, and, we all have emotions, and we all can get our feelings hurt, and we can all, so developing a language between the two of us where I could kind of be honest with him and talk to him, but yet I could still, I don't know, just be able to, like, get him where I needed him to go for the character was really a big deal. And then finding the pivot in the scene, which is, are you a vampire? And then he just goes from this wilting flower to this sort of like cagey lion, where he's just like a cat playing with a mouse. Would it make this any easier if I said yes? Right? And it's just this kind of like, holy shit, what's about to happen? And then obviously there's the monster that comes out, and that's just another, version of the character. And there's another character that you don't see, that you didn't see, where he actually is on camera as this like horror host, where he's like, welcome back. And he's this huge personality, which is much more kind of like what Michael's sort of natural oeuvre is. And I think that, I definitely, like, I withheld, like, that was the last scene we shot for the whole movie, was Michael doing the Corvallo show. This week, we're watching, welcome back, this week's tantalizing tale of terror is blah, 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 blah. And it was, and I don't mean this in any way, like, manipulative, but because I told Michael exactly, I said, Michael, I'm gonna let you off of your leash. Promise. I'm going to let you do that thing that you do so brilliantly and so beautifully. But before that, I need for you to do something for me.
So it's kind of like as a reward.
Kind of, but it wasn't that manipulative, because he understood what was going on, and I understood what was
Right.
going on, and it was just very much like, I need us to do these very, very small things first. I need us to be, just minuscule, and I need us to be very, subtle. And
So in that way, it was developing a relationship with him so that he could trust you and
Yes.
trust that what you were getting on film, what felt, I'm sure, to him like he wasn't doing anything, was in fact what you needed.
Until he did it, and then he was, I think, like you can see it on his face that when he, it's like, oh, there's no work for a washed up creature feature. Maybe I could get you a commercial for, dog food or whatever it was. And he just goes,
Cereal.
For cereal, and you just see his you see Corvallo's reaction of just like disdain, and you can see that like wilting flower is just a facade, and it's really the cat and mouse. Like, that's really who Corvallo is. He's not even really the monster. He's really this like cat and mouse lion, and the monster is just an unfortunate extension of that. So I think, for me and for us and for my team as we made that film, like, that was really the process of that scene, and that was really like working through all of that. And then it was just really fun, because then you get to dream. So like, to your point, then you just get to really start dreaming shit up, where you're like, oh, it's gonna be great. We're gonna build a chest cavity, and then can we use a pig heart? That'd be awesome. Let's use a pig heart. And I can't remember if we actually used a pig heart, but it was pretty gross. Whatever it was gross. And, so that, yeah.
Yeah. Anita also has a clip with us, and do you want to set up your clip?
Yeah, so this clip is from a short film that I directed called A Dangerous Profession. And it was a classroom full of about 20 kids. So I directed not only the kids, but their parents. And that was quite a treat. But basically, what you're missing is, before this scene, there were probably about 5 different kids come up to the stage. You know, there was a cute little pilot that said, I want to be a pilot when I get older, and this is why, and a construction worker, and, sorry, is it not working?
Sometimes.
Oh, it's not, oh, okay. So those, okay, here we go. We're directing up here each other. So what you're missing is those first 5 cute little kids up there, and then this is following the 5 cute little kids.
Do I see a princess sitting all the way back there? Like to go next?
I've always wanted to be a princess, but I know that's never gonna happen. When I grow up, I'm gonna run away from my uncle because nobody believes he plays those secret games with me. Vulnerable and alone, I'll be exploited into the one job I'd never choose.
Talk to us about directing, or let me try that again. Talk to us about how you guided this and maybe what was involved in that. The classroom scene was our first scene. What was involved with that?
So first of all, like I said, I had to catch the vision. Have you guys ever seen The Chosen? Anybody have seen The Chosen? It's a TV series. One of the writers actually wrote this for me. And I had to find a cinematographer who would believe in this. Morgan Cooper was the cinematographer of this short. And so finding the people first was important, but then when it comes to a subject matter such as this, I had to make sure that all the parents knew exactly what was going to happen and making sure that they understood. And so there were some children that, weren't for sure all of the details, so I had to make sure that everybody was on board. The other part too was I had a trafficking expert on set who actually helped me formulate the words that she spoke. So we shifted things around, and the process of that whole classroom was obviously we did that little section at the very end, and when she spoke, all the kids actually got out of the room. And it was just a very, it's, funny because it's cute and you laugh at the first 5 kids that go in, but then I wanted to shock people because I think that when we get shocked by the truth of things, it makes us feel. And for me as an actress and a director, I want to be able to feel not only what I'm acting, but I want to bring that in as a director, and I want the audience to feel. And that's what my goal was with this.
Very cool. So the final scene, do you want to talk anything about, like, how did you do the artistic, because there's a lot of aesthetic lighting and you had smoke machine, I'm certain
Yeah.
somewhere.
Well, first of all, like what Tony was saying, you bring in people that know more than you, and that's what I did. I don't know how to run the smoke machines, and I don't know the details about the lighting and where the shadows fall. I'm not gifted in that, but I know people when I bring them on set, I trust that they are going to be able to fulfill the mission, and I have to be able to put my trust in them, that what is captured on the camera is even better than what I had envisioned. Because I've been on set where it didn't happen that way. I've produced shorts before where it didn't even make the ending. We spent a week shooting something and it was so bad we couldn't even use the film. And so I didn't even actually send it in to be into the contest that we were in. So I've been there. But as far as that was concerned, it took a very long time. We got to the alleyway just down here very early on before the sun even set. But it's also finding those locations before the sun sets, you know, finding the vision before the sun sets. You know, you got to do all that stuff before. And then it was very cold out. The actress was cold. And so having provisions for your actors is also very important, because honestly, you're telling the story even when you're not shooting the camera, because that's part of your story, is even before the camera shoots, you're already telling the story. And so, you know, taking care of your actors, taking care of the sets, making sure that all the equipment is making sure you have enough cords to run the electricity, making sure you have water. All of that is still a part of the story. It's just BTS. And so we had to take care of all of that. That was just one night of shooting that one little scene. But what you don't see is the very last scene of this movie. She was writing on the board, you know, construction worker 920, and you know, pilot 702, and she was putting the words up on the scene, on the board, and that number was something that people didn't know what it was, and this scene cuts right to the ending where it says, instead of she writing princess, she writes prostitute 2040, and then it spans out and it's death rate per year. So I wanted people to feel that there's some truth to it, and all of it was part of the storytelling.
Very well done. Very well done. Thank you. Andrew, would you like to set up your clip?
Well, first, I want to see that film.
You can see it, I will rise project.
I've seen Carvalho and I love it, but I want to see that film. This is a film we shot called Devil's Food Cake, and it was based on the premise of an Ozark waitress in a roadside diner who thinks the last customer of the night is the devil. The scene starts where she's just encountered a gentleman who's walked in at the end of the evening. They've had a little conversation, sort of contentious, and now she's locking up. She's been calling her boyfriend because he sold her a truck that keeps breaking down, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Rubble?
What are you doing, mister?
Eating cake, which you kindly provided.
Really scared the life out of me.
Need a lift? One good turn and all that.
No, I got someone coming.
Don't see no one. Truck's broken. Phone's probably dead.
It's not.
You've made a call already if you could.
Hey, help me jump my car.
No cables.
Can we call on your cell?
No phone. I like my privacy. Hop in.
You just ain't gonna give up, are you?
Not in my nature.
Mine neither.
It's just a ride, Mary. Don't need to be anything bigger.
Which way you headed? I'm just up the road.
Well, you're just up the road, no matter at all.
You can applaud. I picked this clip because it shows some of the process. The scene was storyboarded. I did the storyboards. It doesn't matter if you draw stick figures or whatever your level of art is. All that matters is you can figure out the angles, and this shot, the scene in particular, had a lot of camera motion, and wanted to make sure that everything moved smoothly and we could plan for that. I think the last thing you want to do is go onto a set and think, okay, I want to do some motion here, and not have it cut when you get into post-production. The actors, we rehearsed. The two lead actors, Sarah McGuire and Davis DeRock, they got into a rhythm, they got the feel of it, so I didn't really have to do any takes based on their performance. The only thing we did was to make sure it was technically perfect, and that we did a couple of times. And I enjoy, even looking at it now, I enjoy the kind of subtext, the feeling you can get when a camera just moves in on somebody and they're trapped. As an audience member, there's nowhere you can go. You're feeling the same thing that the character feels. And so I wanted to get the audience into that frame of mind and also on the same level of feeling.
Sorry, you caught me grabbing a drink of water.
I can keep talking.
That's okay. In our pre-meeting, we all talked about how to set, what you like to do to set tone on the set. So I wondered if each of you would talk about that a little bit, about how you, that first day on set, how do you set up the tone so that everybody can feel comfortable and do their best work?
It starts with just curating your set with people who aren't assholes. And people who aren't gonna, like, want to start a fight with somebody. You know what I mean? I don't get, like, you know, the director is the leader of the set, and I've never raised my voice at anyone on set. That doesn't mean that I haven't had to take some people aside and go, hey, is that okay? Because, you know, whatever, but I think that you, at least for me, I just really try to just be very gracious, and even though I'm the director, you know, I'm making sure, I try to keep my eye on PAs, and I try to keep my eye on, you know, other departments, and just make sure, like, do you have everything that you need? Are you doing okay? It's hot, do you have water? Because people are constantly coming up to you and going, hey, here's some water, and no one goes up to a PA and says, hey, here's some water. So it's like, you know, you just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of and being sort of like honored for the job they're doing. So I don't know. like, it's just top down, just like have a great attitude when you get there and just be joyful and happy that you're there, even though you're doing a serious job. And so,
Yeah, there's this saying where it says your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And I feel like, you know, when people come around you as the captain of the ship, they like your vibe. And they believe in you, and when they say yes, they're already there for you. And so the tone, when you have that initial conversation, has already been set the first day. They already know your expectations, but what I do, I like to share my expectations. There are certain things that I don't really like on my sets when I direct. I honestly, for me, I will pray before the set starts. I like to cover my set, no injuries, no one getting hurt, nothing like that, that everybody be in cohesiveness. We're a unified team. Everyone brings gifts, no matter what their political view is, no matter what their background is. They have a gift in their people. And that's what I think that your set as a director needs to remember, is that we are all people, we are all friends. Everyone has value added to your set, and if they know that you believe in them, then they're going to give more to you to bring it to life. I also feel like, too, crew is so important. I even do this when I'm an actress, is I feel that a crew should eat first. So in my sets, the crew eats before the actors. And when I'm an actor, I make sure the crew eats before I do, unless the director tells me, nope, you gotta go. But I just feel like the crew is so valuable, and they often get so forgotten. The sound people are behind the scenes, and we forget how valuable their job is, because if it was not for the sound coming through, we would not have a film. I mean, we would not have a film. It's just so, I feel so strong that we are people. We have to remember, as a director, and maybe it's coming from the actor side of me, I'm not sure, but just that relationship that a director has with the actors and the relationship that the director has with the crew is just so important, because first and foremost, above all of our talent, we are people first.
This is made in partnership with our members. Programming is all made possible through community support, partnerships, and our members. So member benefits include discounted tickets to IFC events, to be eligible to vote in elections. So if I'm running opposed, you can vote me out. Discounts to Who is that? Discounts to IFC competitions like the Filmmaker Face-Off, to be a part of this vibrant local community and be able to support the outreach programs and the programs that we do here. This evening is put on for free in partnership with the Bird Comedy Theater, which is the home of the IFC. For right now, please don't kick us out. We love it here. We love being able to call this place home. And, in-kind donations through this community is amazing. Additional benefits that you get as a member is discounted rentals for props and costumes and studio rentals and editing for your reels and gear rentals and extra classes at the Actors Training Studio. They will unfortunately not teach you how to spell, but that's okay. You don't need to know how to spell to be an actor.
I think it's
What?
I think it's fresh.
Yeah, it's fine. Everybody knows. It's the new way that we spell extra. Etra.
the giving PAs water is completely new to me, but I'm gonna implement that policy, so everyone gets something to drink.
No, I mean like
It is true.
making sure that
Please take care of.
Don't be an
your
asshole,
food
Dave.
and your- Exactly. And I think if I show up and I'm prepared, if I walk on with the set with a shot list that I can give to the DP, I can give to the sound mixer, and we're all on board with what's going to be done that day. We plan out the order, and what I'd like to do is consider that I'm on a set with filmmakers. They are all filmmakers. They should know their jobs. I trust them, that's why they're there in the first place. And if I have confidence in them, I hope they have confidence in me. And if you're prepared, you're not gonna show that there's any confusion. You're gonna be able to jump ahead when there's a problem. And there are always problems that you never expect. But if you have good people around you, and you are prepared to know exactly what you could get out of that particular day or night that you're shooting, you'll be okay. So prep, respect, water for the PAs, and have fun. Because I think a film set's a great place to be. And everybody wants to contribute. Everybody wants to feel that they have a creative stake in the filmmaking process. And I think they should.
That's well said. Thank you so much, all of you. So now we'd like to open it up for a Q&A, and if we can have a little bit of light out there because I won't be able to see anybody. And also when you ask your question, I will repeat it so that the people watching on live stream can also hear it. We have a question way back here, yeah.
Hi, my name is EP Rhodes. I'm a young producer and screenwriter. I moved from Springfield to KC back in May, so I'm just getting in the community. I was wondering, as directors, what are you looking for specifically from a producer? It's just any knowledge that you can share would be really valuable to hear, and just knowing, like, what are you looking for with that collaboration process? Kind of what's your dream producer, if that makes sense?
The question is, what do you look for in a producer? What is part of what are you looking for in that collaborative process? Anybody?
Yeah.
Snacks.
Water for PAs, that's pretty much it.
So, have you heard of the 4 personality types? Okay, so I look for the high C's, which is the melancholy, which is very organized. But that's not like, if you're not at high C, then that doesn't, negate you. But very organized and a problem solver are key, in my opinion, to great producers. Because if there's something that's going on and you as a director are trying to set up the scene, or you as the director are working with the actors and there's some chaos going on, you want to be able to trust that they're going to be able to handle it, so that you don't have to, and you don't have to take away from it, that they're handling it behind you. And that to me shows that great producers, that there's all this stuff going on that you don't even know about, that they're figuring it out, and you'll find out later, and they'll tell you later. You'll hear about it, but what you don't want to hear about it, I feel, is right there on the set when they can handle it. So high C personalities are people who are very organized. They think about the problems before the problem, and they already have the solution already figured out before the problem comes. But they're also drivers as well, and they make stuff happen. So that to me is what. So it doesn't necessarily, if you have that personality and you have not ever produced a film, but you've done other things, I mean, there's no reason why you would not be a great producer.
My thing's similar, but it's just Scorpios. I just want Scorpios. Well, I look for, because I kind of will take a producer credit on things because I'm doing a lot of producing, but I hate paperwork. I am terrible at certain other things that are just really just not my skill set. So I look for, me personally, it's like I look for people that have like opposite and complementary skill sets, like puzzle pieces that fit with me. And you know, I think to your point, it's, you know, you really just have to surround yourself with people who go, oh, I got this, I got you. And then they have to just continually always be accurate when they say that. Like they have to have, you're like, you got this right, and then I can turn around and I can go away and I can do the other thing, and I know that I don't also have to have my eyes on the thing that you said you were gonna do. You know, I don't know. I mean, I could probably go on for a long time about that, but I think confidence is great. I think having, you know, done, you know, not necessarily 10,000 hours, but having your reps in and like knowing, like, oh, I've been in this situation before, or hey, we haven't, and then honesty. So like, if you haven't been in that situation, and you're like, hey, look, I'm a little on this, but like, I'm gonna figure it out. So I just want you to just go do over there and be doing your thing, and I promise you, I'm gonna figure it out. Like, I don't need anybody to bullshit me and go, I got this. Like, I just need him to go, I'm gonna have this, don't worry about it, and then I want to not worry about it. Oh, and if you can do a production book at the end, that's great. So if you can make the math work and like, make sure like the whole production book's there with like the call sheets and the budgets and then like the receipts and all the actual, like if you can actualize the budget and shit, like, I'm not gonna do that. So if you want to do that, like, well, let's chat. Great, like I suck at Excel. It's great. So that's what I look for. Scorpios that are great at Excel. Sorry, no, Tauruses are great actually. I'm a Leo, it's great. Tauruses and Leos, I think you're supposed to be really good. I actually don't know at all if that's accurate. Because it's all made up. So it's like, it's fine, like we can just, we'll be great.
Any other questions over here?
Hello, I'm wondering if you had any advice for new directors coming into the film world.
Sorry, what was the question?
What was the question?
Advice
for new directors
coming into the film world.
Yeah.
Oh, just go make movies. And I'm not being flippant or facetious about that. Like, you have a camera on your phone, and don't worry. I mean, like, really genuinely, just go make movies. Like, find people that you love, that you connect with, that will go play in a sandbox with you, and like go make some movies. And because, you know, the skills that you learn putting a cell phone in the right place and understanding things like that, you know, how to shoot lines of sight and how to shoot leading lines and how to frame things up and how to make sure that everybody's on the proper side of the, you know, the line and all the, you know, all of these things, sort of like basic filmmaking things. Everything that you do quickly and cheaply with your friends on a Sunday afternoon, those things are all going to transfer over to your, you know, to you when you're like, okay, now I'm ready to like enlist the help of like some people that have some real tools behind them and, you know, go make a thing. So just like get your reps in, that's it. Just like write stories, get your friends together, go shoot some stuff.
Okay, I just have one thing to add. If you're just starting out and you want to be a director and you're not familiar with filmmaking, get yourself on as many sets as you can. As a PA, you'll get your water. Learn how a film crew works. Learn how the different departments interact with each other. Just be a sponge and soak that up. The more experience you have about how a set works, and a good set, you'll be able to take that into your filmmaking process. So watch the director and watch all the department heads and be as helpful as you can be.
Also just watch a lot of movies. Sorry. Just watch it. I mean, I can't remember who it was that said this, but you can't write unless you read. So, you know, that for us, that's watching movies.
And also, too, it is not a horrible idea to be an actor first, too. I mean, you will learn so much about what goes on in an actor's brain and how we respond to certain types of personalities and certain directors. I mean, I've been on sets before where Tony, you said you've never raised your voice before, but as an actor, I have been on a set before where several times where the directors will scream at the crew. And as an actor, sitting and watching this happen, changing the whole entire tone of the whole entire set, and watching the faces of the people who are trying to make this happen. So getting in the brain of how actors feel, how the crew feels, you know, being on set and helping it, but taking acting classes is gonna help you because they're gonna be your lifeline right there. So learning how to act is gonna be key too. And if you've got a friend who here in your community and they're making a movie and you wanna be a director and there's no director spots, well, be the first in line to be an actor so that you can.
Even if it's an extra.
Even if it's an extra. Even if it's an extra, because you'll be right there and you'll be hearing and you'll be seeing and you'll be experiencing the vibe of it. My very first film was an IFC film, and it was, I went to the audition. I wanted to do this so bad. The casting call from IFC was a couple who were in their 60s. And mind you, this was 15 years ago, and I am not 60. But I reached out to the director, and I said, I would like to be in this. I've never been in film before. I've only done stage. So I come from stage, and I said, do you have anything at all that I could do? I really want to do this. And he said, it's only between these two people, but come to the audition. So I went to the audition, sat in a room full of 60s, went in and had a 5-minute conversation with the director. He texted me back and said, we'll let you be the waitress. You've only got one line. Hi, may I help you? I did it. I went that morning, was there all day long, soaked it all in, and that was my very first acting job. And so I would encourage anybody, if you're wanting to do anything in whatever it is, it doesn't have to be directing, sit yourself in the seat of an actor first and see how you feel.
Do we have time for one more? No, sorry. Okay, we've run out of time. I'd like everybody to thank our panel.